All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Some of y'all, if y'all browse around on my channel, might recognize this car. This is the original 68 Camaro orange candy car that I did years ago. This time around, they've swapped it out for big tires versus the radials it was originally built for. So they've added some fiberglass quarter extensions and raised up the wheel tubs in the car for the added clearance as necessary. So my task is to make this thing look good again. So what we're going to end up doing is just painting the body of the car, and we're probably going to blend out on the doors, but there's no need to paint the front end. I do have the front end, so y'all will see that when it's all done. Let y'all see this car complete. A lot of people want to see them complete, and you know, I don't always get the opportunity to see that firsthand. So all right, now I want to preface this by saying this is not against the people that did any of this work, but this is something I just want to show y'all what I have to deal with a lot of times. This is not the only instance where this is the case. A lot of these guys build great race cars, but when it comes to the fabrication side, they're either not real familiar with what needs to be done, or in a lot of cases, people think the body filler just solves all your problems. Now, in this situation, what we've got here, for starters, is this quarter skin. They've bonded it to, it's a steel quarter, so they've bonded the fiberglass skin to it, which is the right method to do this with. On the backside, they've done some fiberglass work to also seal the backside to it to help hold it together. But on the front side, none of this was ever, the steel panel was never flanged. So you can see the thickness of this new piece is about an 1/8 inch, and it's sticking off of the panel all the way around. So what that creates for me is an issue where no matter what I do, I now have to blend out, blend out the body filler all the way out both ways here, and build the quarter up to make this look smooth again. Now on the upper part here, what they did was they had to increase the wheel tub size. So in doing so, they had to essentially lift up wheel tub and bring the whole quarter panel up. Now, there's nothing wrong with the shape and style of what they've done, but when it comes to welding these things, stitching this along like this and then calling it a day is not the way it needs to be done. Same method at the top edge here. This was not completely welded, and so there's a little gap along here, and it's a straight, it's a hard edge right here. And what we would really want to see is more of a radiused edge, just like there is on the upper part of the original quarter panel. So I can't go through and weld this down here because there's where they fiberglassed underneath it. There's a lot of work already been done. I don't want to set things on fire, and I don't want to ruin anything else. So my solution, unfortunately, has come to create a piece to cover this that is a bent piece to give me a nice radiused edge where I don't end up with body filler on that edge. Now, the problem with doing this here is the fact that when all this stuff dries, when you cover this up, there's little vibrations that are going to go on because these are not welded. And as the material shrinks, you're going to begin to see this entire perimeter all the way around here. And then as the vibrations continue, it's going to crack. It's going to crack right where it's not welded all the way around here. It's going to do the same thing up through this section here. It's going to do it right here all the way. So I just wanted to let y'all know that this is not the way to do this. This is why it takes me so long to get some of these cars painted, because I end up having to go back and redo things. So it's not going to take me that long to take care of it, but I'm not going to be able to take care of it quite in the manner in which it should be. All right, so what I've got here is actually some pieces of a 20 gauge that I had from another project. They're bent up. They're bent up with about a 1/4 inch radius on the edge here. Now they are bent at a 90, so I'm going to have to flatten them out a little bit because this upper edge isn't at a 90 right here. What I'm going to end up doing is using the shrinker and stretcher, and we're going to make this piece here to cap this over. Now I've gone ahead and made this side here just to see how it was going to look. Now this is one here, and as you can see, I've got a nice radiused edge, and it flows right on down through into the original body line there. Now unfortunately I can't completely weld this because there's so much work already done underneath. If there wasn't work already done underneath of it and it wasn't kind of finished out underneath there, I would just go through and weld the entire edge and then grind it off to a little radius, but it's a little late for that. So I'm going to go through. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stitch this in the same manner that all these are stitched on. I'm going to end up having to stitch this once every inch or so, and then we're going to end up doing body filler on top of it. All right, so after doing the fabrication and tack weld those pieces in, this is the result we have right now. Both sides like this is a nice clean radius to edge there, going all the way down. All right, so we're all ground up and we're ready to apply that fiberglass filler. So I'm going to thin the fiberglass filler with a little bit of fiberglass resin to make it a little more flowable. And I'm going to pack it in all these grooves here, everywhere it was welded. I'm going to go ahead and kind of pack it in there. Not real thick, but I just want to get it in there and get it covered up. And then we'll come back and sand that off, and I'll work on top of that with a little more where it's needed. All right, now that you can hear me, because the rain's finally quit and the storm is going away, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to wipe everything in here that's bare metal. You can see everything that I had stripped down. We've got bare metal. It is, you know, southeastern heat and humidity. It's 7 o'clock at night. I want to go ahead and make sure this thing isn't going to rust. Anytime you've done a lot of grinding or you know, using 36 grit, something real heavy, real coarse, if it rusts overnight, you're going to catch hell trying to get the rust back out of those deep grooves that you put in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe everything that has bare metal exposed. As you see how I've got it done, they had done some welding up through here, so I was going to have to redo the whole rear deck piece. And everything through here that was originally worked, I've just kind of roughed it out. Now this is going to be the first time around for wiping everything with body filler, so I'm going to wipe everything you see that's bare metal right now. Now this fiberglass quarter being this is the outermost piece. You can see where it was raised up above from where the quarter panel is, so I'm not going to be putting a lot of filler on this general area right now. I'm going to focus on the bare metal where we need to kind of build it up. So this first layer is going to cover everything bare metal, and not really on the fiberglass. I'll worry about getting filler on the fiberglass when it comes time to do our final wipe with like a thin down glazing putty. But for now, I just want to get filler on all the bare metal. It can sit overnight. All right, so I'm ready to wipe everything on this car. All that bare metal, we're going to wipe it all up for tonight. That way we don't have to worry about it rusting, since it's super humid and turning into the nighttime. Got Rage Ultra, my go-to. I love this stuff. It sands really good, works really well for me. There's a lot of good body fillers out there. That's just the one I prefer. You know, good products will save you time, and cheap products might cost you less cash, but you're gonna pay for it in labor. We get this Rage Ultra mixed up. We're gonna do this in multiple passes. So what I use is about a 12 by 10, 12 by 12 piece of Lexan. Now, whatever I can mix and handle to work on this is the amount that I'm going to put on there. So I figure this is probably going to take 3 times for me to wipe the quarter panel, and you know, maybe a 4th to get on through that deck area. But I want to get all the bare metal covered up because it is raining outside. It's super humid in here. And I don't want any rust on it because we're not putting primer on it. All right, so what I did was I went on the scale, and I actually mixed 10% fiberglass resin into the Evercoat Ultra. I wouldn't go more than 10%. This is kind of you can see it's nice and creamy, so it'll lay out real nice and smooth, and hopefully be a lot less sanding. So we're going to wipe everything with this mixture. And so after going on 24 hours of body work, this is where we're at. And we are ready to prime. And after all that last coat of that glaze mixture, all that hand sanding and hand blocking, there's a couple little places I had to go back and correct. But all in all, we're ready for our priming. We're going to be blocking this thing down and re-priming anyway, so we should be good. Now, as you can see up here, you know that you can still see some bare metal where this radius is, where I've added that bent piece. That's good though. I don't want any body filler on top of that line. The other side's pretty much the same way. And then, you know, it's a couple of spots up front where the lead, there was some corrosion going on under the lead, because this is a actual steel body from an original car. So took care of that. It's the same thing on both sides. So right now we're going to put down 4 coats of ECP35 primer. That is a 4-to-1 high build urethane primer. It's in the Envirobase line. Don't care what primer you're using. I like to use a really good expensive primer. Expensive primers, you're going to pay out your pocket, but it's going to save you on labor. The biggest thing I ever come across when it comes into cheap products versus expensive products is the time it takes you to work with them. You buy cheap sandpaper, you're going to use twice as much sandpaper. You buy a cheap primer, you're going to have to sand it. It's going to be twice as hard to sand it. You know, even when it comes down to cheap clear coats, you know, you're going to have to add a couple coats to achieve the same thickness you would with a good clear coat. You're going to have to wait twice as long before you can sand and polish it. It's probably not going to polish as good or be as just as easy to polish. So some products you may find expensive, but I mean, you get your money's worth. If you've used enough cheap products and good products over the years, you'll learn and you know that the good stuff is always better, whether it's product, material, whatever. So, all right, so I forgot to mention, you noticed I was DA-ing this right at the end. What I was using was 80 grit with a soft interface pad. This helps keep you from digging in anywhere, causing any flat spots, kind of just works it around the contours. All I was trying to do is knock down some of those rough straight line 80 grit scratches. The DA, even though it's 80 grit, it'll leave a really good smooth finish and it'll give you lots of tooth for your primer to adhere to. Some of the other hand spots I did with 180, just so they weren't so rough in the little nooks and crannies and places. But got my primer mixed up. What I shoot is my Sada Jet 100 BP. The P stands for polyester. This is a 2.5 millimeter gun. It is a very big gun. I have to turn it down on the fluid side so I don't shoot way too much primer at a time, but it allows me to shoot any primer in any form, any viscosity that I need to shoot it in. So All right, so that was 3 coats of primer, the same ECP 35, mixed 4 to 1 to 1, so it has a 25% reducer or so in it. That makes it lay out nice and smooth. When it comes to doing your final sand, you don't want to be spending all your time sanding out texture, so everything's nice and smooth. All the bodywork blocked out real nice. There wasn't any major cut throughs through any of the bodywork. So should be real easy. We're going to take some 600 grit on the DA, sand most of the whole car like that. A little bit of wet sanding and some small places that are hard to deal with. Then we'll be ready for paint. So check out part 2. Part 2 is when we're going to do the painting on it. This is just all the body work. So hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and tap that bell, and I'll catch you on part 2.